Welcome back everyone to another ThinkorSwim tutorial video. This past weekend, there were 5 new updates to ThinkorSwim that you probably want to be aware of. Now, the first of those is actually adding new extended session columns to our watch list. So if we come over here to our watch list on my side panel over here and click on the little gear icon in the upper right-hand corner and click on Customize, right here is how we can add additional columns to our watch list. And if we look over here where it says look up a column, there are 3 new columns in here. If we just type in EXE for extended, right here we can see those columns as the extended session last, the net change in the pre-market, and the percent change. So if we were to add those, I know it's not the pre-market right now, but if we come down here and now hit OK, we can now see those 3 new columns over here in our watch list. And at the moment, it looks like once the market opens up, these columns pretty much all become NA. But what they're showing you here, if we look in this first column, the extended session last traded price, this is going to be the column that you're going to look at in the pre-market to see what the stock is trading for right now. Now, in this case, it's just telling us what the last trade in the pre-market was. So in the case of Airbnb, it was $141 a share. In the case of Amazon, it was $202.36. But again, it's simply showing you what the stock last traded for in the pre and post market. Now the next column over, the extended session net change, this is just going to show you how much the stock was up or down in the pre-market. So looking down here at Apple, we can see it was up $1.01 in the pre-market, which was a 0.43% up move. So that'll be update number 1, these 3 new columns. Change number 2 is actually going to be over here on our charts. And the change is actually to a tool that a lot of you probably don't even know is on here. So first off, if we go ahead and add the toolbar to the top of our charts, so we're going to come up here to the gear icon in the upper right-hand corner, and then within the chart settings menu, if we come down here below where it says My Tools Off, and we turn that on each chart, what that does is it puts a little toolbar up here at the very top of each of our charts. And you'll also notice that there's a little pin icon over here on the left, which simply means that this menu doesn't go away when I move my mouse away, like it does currently. So if I want it stuck there, if I come back up to the top and hit this little pin icon, that little toolbar will always be up there. And if you look up here, there are currently a bunch of buttons, and a lot of them are drawing tools at the moment, like the pan tool, the pointer, the trend line. But we can make these buttons pretty much do anything. We could have a button that quickly adds a bunch of our chart indicators. So if I wanted to quickly add the 50 and 200 simple moving averages along with the RSI, I could make that a button, which if I clicked on it, all of those studies would just immediately appear. I could have another button that changes my chart to a white background, and instead of having candlesticks, I instead have a line chart. And what they just recently added is actually making these buttons work for the time frames as well. So I could have a time frame button up here that says I want 1-minute candles or 5-minute candles or daily candles. But the way that we change those and the way that we see all of those different things that we could do is by coming over here to the gear icon on the far right-hand side. And then within this little pop-up window, which let me make it a little bit bigger, is where we can now see all the buttons we're currently using and which order they're in. So if we wanted to delete some of these, because I don't really see myself using them, we would simply click on the little menu button here and then say delete button. And I'm actually going to do that for all of these right here. Just clean out my toolbar. And for this one, since it is the last button up here, we're going to come up above and say change button action. So we're simply changing what this button does. And if I look over here, these are all the different things that I could switch it to. So I could add a drawing tool button. I could add one particular study button. If I just wanted to have, let's say, just the simple moving average up here, I could add it. Or I could add study sets like we talked about before, or style sets, or time frames. So let's just say I wanted to have a couple time frame buttons up here. I wanted to have a 1 day, 1 minute. I also want to add a new button, and I want it to be a, let's say, 5 day, 5-minute chart. And I want one more. I want to come down here below and add a 1 year, 1 day chart. So now if we hit done up here, we can see these buttons up here above, which if I were to click on one of them, you can see my chart time frame changes down below. And then if I click on the daily chart, we can now see we've got a daily chart down below. If we wanted to add some of those study setups like I talked about, we can always come back up here to the gear icon And then coming back down below to the Add a Button button, we'll come over here to our study sets, and we're going to add the first study set. I have no idea what that one does. And we're also going to add the, let's say, volatility study set. So now with both of those added, if we hit done here, let's go ahead and check out the first study set by clicking on it. And we can now see here that I've added a bunch of EMA lines up here at the top. I've added stochastic fast, MACD, and RSI. But if I were to instead come up here to the volatility study set, it gets rid of all of those other studies. And now I've got, it looks like IV rank, and IV percentile in the top left, and then a comparison of implied volatility and historical volatility down below. But the big change to this tool up here at the top is that they've now added a whole lot more buttons that you can add. So we can have, I think, 25 of them up here at the top. And we can also add these time frame buttons, which wasn't here a week ago. Next up, if we move on to change number 3, we're going to head over to the monitor page. So the first tab up here at the top, and what they've changed is the header bar up here at the top. So right up here where it shows your working orders, your filled orders, your canceled orders, right now currently it stays stuck up there at the top. So if we scroll, we can see this stays stuck up here at the top, taking up that entire chunk of space. And depending on how many open orders I had, this could take up like half the screen. So what they've changed is up here in the upper right-hand corner where you see this, what looks like a little anchor icon. If I were to click on that and turn those headers on, or those sticky headers on, what that now allows us to do is change the size of this top menu. So if I didn't want it to take up so much space, I could go ahead and drag this up. And now I can either scroll through this top section or scroll through this bottom section. And if I wanted it to take up a little more space because maybe that's too small and I can't see enough of my working orders, I could always drag that open a little bit. But now I can move around without this top section taking up my entire screen. Assuming I had a bunch of other working orders here, it could really make it difficult to navigate this page. So that's what this little anchor icon does up here, up in the upper right-hand corner. You can either turn it on or off. Now moving on to update number 4, if we come over here to the account statement page, so this is where we can keep track of all of our historical activity in the account. So all of the cash inflows, outflows, dividends, what trades did I place last week, last month. Again, it's just our historical activity page. And if we look down here in our trade history, we can see all the trades that I placed over the last 7 days in this account. And a lot of people don't know that we can actually change these columns up here at the top. So the information being displayed about these trades. So if we come up here to the upper right-hand corner of that little window there, click on the gear icon here, go ahead and click on the Customize button. Within this little Customize Trade History window over here, we can see all the columns that we're currently using, and then all the columns available to us over here on the left. Now, if you never knew this was here, there's probably some things in here that you want to edit anyways, but the new column that they just added was this price improvement column. So if we were to go ahead and add that, just so you have an idea of how that works, if we come down here below and now hit OK, what you can see over here is the price improvement over the current price that I got filled at. So this right here is telling me I got $1 better fill than what the market was showing. Down here below on this trade on JPST, it looks like I got a $2.65 better fill. And then way down here on these SoFi puts that I bought back, it looks like I got a $3 better fill than what the market was saying. Some people like to see this, but it is just a brand new column that they just added. Now finally, the best for last, number 5. If we look up here at the top of our screen, I think a lot of people are used to scrolling quotes up here. So up here at the top where they could see what Amazon was currently trading at, or Google, or any other stock ticker that they like to track, a lot of people are used to seeing that as like a ticker tape on the top of their screen, and ThinkorSwim just added that feature as well. So if you were to look up here in the upper left-hand corner where this little plus sign is at, if we go ahead and click on that, we can now add whatever symbol we want to track up here at the top. So in my case, I'm going to throw in the indexes up there. I'm going to throw in the S&P 500. I'm also going to throw in, let's just say, the ETF that I more actively track, SPY. We're also going to add Apple, if I can spell it right. And we're going to add Amazon. So that right there is another helpful feature. And if we ever want to change these or delete them, we simply click on the symbol we want to change. So in this case, let's say I wanted to change the SPX because I've already got SPY over here. And let's instead say I wanted to put Microsoft in there. And then later on, if I ever wanted to just outright delete, let's say Amazon, we'll go ahead and click on it and then hit the little X here to get rid of it. But that'll be the main 5 updates that just happened this past weekend. And as an added bonus, there were a few other updates these past few weeks that you might not have even noticed. Now, the first one, if we head back over to the activity and positions page, if you look down here at my profit and loss, it's currently in grayscale at the moment. So it's a little hard for me to tell which positions I'm up or down on just by glancing at it. So if I wanted to adjust that, if you come up here to the setup button in the upper right-hand corner, then open up the application settings. If you look over here on the side panel on the left where it currently says display, we can actually check mark these 2 boxes here that say show color price ticks for the position statement and the account statement. So with both of those check marked, if we come down here and hit apply, we can now see that my profit and loss is reflected in green and red, so it's just a lot more obvious for me to keep track of. Just try to ignore all the red down here. Let's focus on the green. But moving on to update number 2, or bonus update number 2, if we come over here to our charts page, another cool thing they added is the ability to see your positions both on stock and options directly on the chart. So if I were to flip to something I've actually got a position on, let's go to Palantir, because I know I've sold a lot against it. If we come up here above and click on this little gear icon up here, the chart settings menu, looking here in the first tab at the top, the general tab, what we're going to do is come down here below where it says positions, and currently it says do not show. But what we're going to do is flip that to show all. So show both the stock positions and the options positions directly on my chart. So now looking down here, we can see I've got 100 shares of Palantir at $20.50 a share. We can also see up here, I've sold one of the $55 calls, which is pretty deep in the money at this point. And I've also sold 2 of the 59 puts and 2 of the 60 puts directly in this account. Now, if I ever wanted to buy back these puts from here or sell my shares from here, I could actually just find the little position flag here and just right click on it. And then from there, I can see the little pop-up menu here, which says create a closing order. And then this right here would be buying back those 2 $60 puts if I wanted to. Now, while we're here on these charts, if I wanted to trade options a different way, they've actually added an option chain to all of the charts. So if you look over here on the far right-hand side, if you see these little buttons over here, the new one they've added, which has probably been a couple months at this point, is the option chain here. And you can see as soon as I click on it, it opens up a chain right down here below. Now, if you're like me and you like to have a nice big chart on one side, an option chain on the other, we could actually get rid of this one here and instead come up to the upper right-hand corner and add a new chart to the right of this one. Since I want the option chain to always be matching the stock that I'm looking at over here on the left, I'm going to go ahead and link these 2 windows together. So I linked it to red because this one was already linked to red. And now over here on the right, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the chart over here and instead flip it to an option chain. So now I've got Palantir on the left, I've got Palantir on the right, but now I've got an option chain that I can trade with. But hopefully that helps. Those are just a few new additions that ThinkorSwim has made. There's a lot more stuff that I hope they update, but that's a good start. If you still feel like learning more, go ahead and check out this next video to dive into another tool on ThinkorSwim, and I'll see you guys there.